How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Today we're going to talk about a NES port of a well-known PC puzzle strategy game. Said game puts you in control of a little cursor, and you have to basically guide these little rodents to exits in every level and keep them from harming themselves. It's an interesting premise, one that I've always found interesting, and the rodent in particular has a reputation for being just mindless and has been used to basically as a slang term to describe people who mindlessly follow celebrities or religions or political leaders or whomever, right? And I've always found this interesting because it's just a really interesting idea, a really interesting thought. And I've never really understood why this particular rodent was targeted for this, but here we are. Today, we're going to talk about the NES port of Lemmings. Alright, so full disclosure, I didn't know Lemmings were a thing until I was still a little kid. There was an episode of DuckTales where Scrooge McDuck was trying to keep, and his nephews were trying to keep these lemmings from flinging themselves off of a cliffside. It was a really weird thing, and it was something that made me, first of all, I didn't know, until I watched that, I didn't know lemmings were a real thing. Found out they were a real thing. And then I was fascinated by this idea that lemmings basically follow their leader mindlessly. They follow the first one in the pack mindlessly in whatever direction he goes in. And that always seems silly to me, right? Well, this game plays off of that because at the beginning of each stage, a trapdoor opens, a bunch of lemmings fall out, and you have to plot out which direction they're going to go in, where they're going to go, how that whole thing is going to play out to get as many as possible to that exit. You have a quota that you have to meet, and if you don't meet that quota, then you lose that level. You have to start over. And each level you get the ability to get the lemmings to do different stuff. Like there's one where you can assign a lemming to stop the other lemmings from going in a particular direction. There's lemmings that you can get the lemmings to dig holes towards the goal. There are you can assign your lemmings little umbrellas, so if they fall a certain distance, they'll open up the little umbrellas and fall safely, stuff like that. There's also a self-destruct button on some of the lemmings, so if you have gotten your quota and you can't get the lemmings to continue to go, you can't get a group of lemmings to do anything or go anywhere, you can make them blow up. It's really weird, and it can get really heavy with stuff like that, but it's a really interesting game and a really inventive game, and it's something that a lot of gamers over the years have come to absolutely love. Lemmings is a solid little puzzle game. And the NES version is interesting because the music's pretty solid. Graphically, it doesn't look too much different from any of the other ports of the game. I mean, Lemmings never was like a graphically intensive game. It's just it's a puzzle game, and the little animations for the little Lemmings does what it's supposed to do. You know? This is where I should say something socially conscious or whatever, but I'm not. You know, people gotta stop. I mean, people gotta stop following people blindly, but that ain't for me to say. You do what you want to do. That's on you. Yep. Now, in terms of getting yourself a copy of Lemmings for the NES, I'm gonna say let's start about $30 for a loose copy of Lemmings for the NES. About $35, and you can go from there. And I wish you luck, cause it's probably gonna be more than $35, but that's a good starting point. Most copies are about more like $45, $50, but you might luck out, find one about $30. And it's a good game, and it's an interesting little port of a really good time-honored puzzle game that's actually probably available pretty much everywhere at this point. But, you know, you do what you want to do. Just find a way to play Lemmings. It's a good game. This has been the 8-Bit Animal. And I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow, we finally see the natural progression from RC Pro-Am to rock and roll racing.